So I'm here with Louis Boucher of DAC Coffee Roasters in the Netherlands. So this is coffee number 5 in the Right Roast Coffee Club, and it's Colombia.
So I'm Louis, founder and roaster at DAC Coffee Roasters. We're based in the Netherlands, but I'm originally Canadian. So I have this sort of weird background and also this weird introduction into coffee. But we've been only active for about, let's say, 1 year now. Only active during the pandemic, which is kind of a weird situation to start a business. But things are going well, and we're super excited to have this nice coffee that we found a few weeks ago in this box, and to have everyone try it.
Your background and what led you to making such great coffee? Where did you learn, and who were your influences? Things like that.
My background is not related at all to coffee, which is kind of bizarre. So I have a background in mathematical finance, and I've worked as a software developer before. But I've lived in a lot of different places over the last few years. So I've lived in Montreal, in London for a bit. I also lived in Italy, and now in Amsterdam. And I've always enjoyed, and I've always been curious about sort of how different the coffee culture is from one place to the other. Sort of the more I sort of dove into it, the more I wanted to learn about it. I wanted to taste different things. I wanted to understand a bit more, and eventually I wanted to start sort of playing with it myself. So I started roasting a few years ago, just for fun at home, experimenting a bit, and then eventually over time, as I also got tired of my corporate job, I sort of decided to dive in and to start actually roasting myself. So before I actually started, I went to Berlin and took a one-on-one class with like a private class with an established roaster there, just to make sure that I could sort of port the knowledge that I had from doing it at home into sort of more commercial and a larger machine type of setting. So coming from just purely business and sort of tech background into just a passion-driven small business into coffee.
Tell us more about DAC as a business. What is it that you obviously have a passion for design as well, and we'd just like to know about what it is that DAC brings to specialty coffee.
A lot of different ways that you can enjoy a coffee, and also sort of being surprised by coffee. So we try to bring kind of funky and weird coffees forward. We try to sort of experiment. And as you said, we use design and branding to sort of to augment the experience, let's say. So we like to have these special editions or limited edition coffees that are weird, that are unique in their own way, and then we'll use the marketing to try to draw up a little bit of interest or a little bit of fun behind the coffees, just so the product itself becomes more of an experience than just a drink itself.
I'd like to talk about coffee number 5, the El Mirador, which I think is an absolutely beautiful Colombian coffee. And when I reviewed it, I was sort of trying to find out what category is it in. Fruity, sweet, spices, maybe even floral. And it sort of sits in between all of them, which I think is it's really wonderful, interesting. Please tell me as much as you can about how you discovered this coffee and what you feel about it.
It's really sort of, it has all these different layers, this coffee, as you said, and it's beautifully complex, let's say. So we were looking for a pink bourbon in particular, and the variety itself just has lots of sugar and very dense bean, which creates this very sort of sweet coffee in the end. And we enjoyed this one in particular because it's so complex and you get all these layers. So when the coffee cools down, you get actually sort of different tastes that come forward, which makes it for a very nice experiment. So we had a lot of different ones on the cupping table. We chose this one just because it really reminded me of a raspberry lemonade, which I thought was super cool, and sort of brought me back to my childhood, which was quite cool. You know, you often get these coffees every once in a while that wow you on a cupping table, that just spark a different memory. So it was kind of a no-brainer for us to select this one.
Tell us your favorite way to brew this coffee and why.
So the way I brew the coffees often depends on sort of what I enjoy the most at a certain moment. I recently purchased an origami dripper, And sort of my favorite way at the moment is a Kalita filter in the origami dripper, and it's a relatively short brew. Yeah, fantastic for bring a sparkling acidity. We also retain some sweetness in it, which is quite nice.
Recipe?
Fairly basic. So 16 grams in with 260 grams of water out. I do 60 grams of water as a bloom up to 30 seconds. And then the first pour up to 160 grams at 30 seconds. And then at 1 minute and 30 seconds, we do the second pour to 260. A little bit of a swirl at the end, and then it should brew for 245, 2 minutes and 50 seconds. And that's basic, but fantastic.
So what's going on in Amsterdam? I know the coffee scene there is big and has been exploding over the last few years. So is it still on a rapid rise, or is it settling down now? How do you feel?
I think it's quite an interesting place, actually. But I would say, if I'm being 100% honest, I would say I'm a bit disappointed, just because you have a lot of amazing cafes that are mainly from roasters. Let's say Fried Hats has an amazing cafe in the city. But in terms of having these nice, let's say, multi-roaster cafes that you have in other countries, so the UK has a lot, and Ireland especially has a lot of these cafes. There's not that many in Amsterdam, so I think there's room for a lot more of these sort of specialty cafes that will have a sort of a changing offering or a wider inventory. I think there's room there to grow. But in terms of volume, there's a lot of cafes here. A lot of them still serve commodity coffee. So it's quite interesting. But I think there's so much interest from the Dutch in general in specialty coffee that it will sort of progress in that direction. So there is still room to grow, even though it is still a large market.
Great talking to you, Lewis.
Thank you, and have a good one.